Do you really not remember anything from last night?
Claire Watson stood in Logan Cooper's kitchen wearing his white shirt, coffee cup in hand, a thin smile playing at her lips. Logan froze on the couch, heart pounding, mind blank. The woman he'd pulled from a burning car was now the CEO who held the mortgage on his house, and his 7-year-old daughter Mia was peeking from the hallway, blue eyes wide with curiosity. But before we find out what happens next, subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, let me tell you how a single father's life changed forever. Morning sunlight filtered through the worn curtains of the small house in Portland, Oregon. Logan Cooper, 36, jerked awake on the sagging couch, his back aching from another restless night. The faint clink of a spoon against ceramic drifted from the kitchen. Soft footsteps. His pulse spiked. Someone was in his house. He sat up fast, head spinning. Through the doorway he saw her, a woman with dark auburn hair, slightly tousled, moving through his kitchen like she belonged there. She wore his white button-down shirt, the one he'd tossed over the chair last night, nothing else visible. She was making coffee, movements calm and deliberate. She turned. Her sharp green eyes met his. A smile flickered at the corner of her lips. "Good morning." Logan's throat went dry. Who are you?" "The woman whose life you saved," she said smoothly, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "And also the CEO of Watson Financial Group, the company that currently holds the mortgage on this house." The room tilted. Logan gripped the arm of the couch. His heart hammered against his ribs. From the hallway came a soft giggle. Mia, his 7-year-old daughter, peeked around the corner, her blonde hair in a messy braid, blue eyes sparkling with curiosity. The woman, Claire Watson, looked at Mia, then back at Logan. Her expression softened, but something dangerous lingered in her gaze. Something he hadn't yet touched. "We need to talk, Logan." 12 hours earlier, Logan had been driving home from his second job, night security at a warehouse on the east side of Portland. His battered 2008 Ford pickup rattled down Highway 26, wipers barely keeping up with the torrential rain. It was 11:47 p.m. Mia would be asleep by now, safe with Mrs. Kowalski, the elderly neighbor who watched her when Logan worked late. Thunder cracked across the sky. Lightning illuminated the road in harsh white flashes. Then he saw it. A black Mercedes sedan, sleek and expensive, tilted at a 45-degree angle in the ditch. The front end was wrapped around a tree. White smoke billowed from the hood. The headlights flickered weakly, like a dying heartbeat. Logan slammed the brakes. The truck fishtailed on the wet asphalt before skidding to a stop on the shoulder. He threw open the door and ran, rain lashing his face, soaking through his work uniform in seconds. Inside the car, a woman slumped against the steering wheel. Blood trickled from a gash on her forehead, mixing with rainwater streaming through the shattered windshield. Her black blazer was torn, her white blouse soaked red. An expensive watch glinted on her wrist beneath the flickering dashboard lights. Her eyes fluttered open, wide, terrified. "Help me," she gasped. "Please." Logan didn't think, didn't hesitate. He smashed his elbow through the remaining glass of the driver's side window, ignoring the sharp sting as shards sliced his forearm. He reached in, popped the seatbelt, and hauled her out just as flames erupted from under the hood. The explosion came 3 seconds later. The shockwave knocked them both to the ground. Logan covered her body with his, shielding her from the rain of debris and burning metal. Heat seared the back of his neck. His ears rang. When the roaring stopped, he looked down. The woman was trembling violently, gasping for air, eyes locked on the inferno that had been her car. "You're okay," Logan said, voice hoarse. "You're safe." She stared at him, rain streaming down her face. "Thank you, I can't breathe." He could see it. The rapid, shallow breaths, the panic setting in. Shock, maybe a concussion. The nearest hospital was 15 miles away, and half the roads were flooded. Calling an ambulance would take too long. Logan made a decision. My house is 5 minutes from here. I can get you warm, check your injuries. Then we call 911, okay? She nodded weakly. He helped her into the passenger seat of his truck, wrapped his work jacket around her shoulders, and drove carefully through the storm. She didn't speak, just stared straight ahead, trembling, one hand gripping the door handle, the other pressed to her bleeding forehead. Logan's house was small, a 2-bedroom rental in a working-class neighborhood, peeling paint on the exterior, a chain-link fence around a patchy yard. He'd lived there for 3 years, ever since his wife Emily died. He guided the woman inside, flipping on lights. The living room was cluttered but clean. Mia's toys in a basket, a stack of unpaid bills on the coffee table, photos of Emily on the mantel. The woman's designer heels clicked on the worn linoleum as he led her to the bathroom. "Sit," Logan said, pointing to the closed toilet lid. She obeyed, still shaking. He grabbed the first aid kit from under the sink, knelt in front of her, and carefully cleaned the cut on her forehead. She winced, but didn't pull away. Up close, he could see the exhaustion in her face, the dark circles under her eyes, the tension in her jaw. "What's your name?" Logan asked quietly. "Claire." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm Logan." "You're going to be okay, Claire." She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I thought I was going to die." "You didn't. You're here." He finished bandaging the wound, then checked her pupils, equal and reactive. No major concussion. Her ribs were bruised but not broken. She was lucky, incredibly lucky. "I need to get out of these clothes," Claire said, looking down at her torn, blood-soaked blouse. Logan hesitated, then grabbed one of his own shirts from the bedroom, a plain white button-down he wore to job interviews. "Here, bathroom's all yours. I'll make some tea." She nodded, taking the shirt with trembling hands. 20 minutes later, Claire emerged wearing his shirt and nothing else. It hung to mid-thigh, sleeves rolled up. Her hair was damp from washing the blood out. She looked smaller somehow, vulnerable, human. "Thank you," she said softly. "You can take the bed," Logan said, nodding toward the bedroom. "I'll sleep out here. I don't want to kick you out of your own bed. You're injured. You need rest. I'll be fine on the couch." Claire studied him for a long moment, something unreadable in her green eyes. Then she nodded. "Okay." She disappeared into the bedroom, closing the door softly behind her. Logan collapsed onto the couch, adrenaline finally crashing. His hands were still shaking. He glanced at the clock. 12:34 a.m. He needed to text Mrs. Kowalski, let her know he'd be a little late picking up Mia in the morning. His phone buzzed. A notification. "Mortgage payment overdue. Final notice." Logan's stomach dropped. He'd missed the deadline. Again. 60 days overdue now. The bank, Watson Financial Group, had been sending letters for weeks, threatening foreclosure. He'd called, begged for an extension, but they'd been cold, bureaucratic, unyielding. He was going to lose the house, Mia's home, the only place that still held memories of Emily. Logan closed his eyes, exhaustion pulling him under. When he woke, sunlight was streaming through the windows, and Claire Watson was standing in his kitchen, wearing his shirt, making coffee. Now, sitting on his couch with his heart pounding and his daughter watching from the hallway, Logan tried to piece together what was happening. "You're the CEO of Watson Financial," he said slowly, "the company that holds my mortgage." "Yes." Claire set a mug of coffee on the table in front of him. Black, no sugar. Somehow she'd guessed right. "And you're here because you saved my life last night." She sat down across from him, crossing her legs, the hem of his shirt riding up slightly. "And because I looked you up while you were sleeping." Logan's pulse spiked. "You what?" "Your name was on the mail." She nodded toward the stack of bills on the coffee table. "I recognized it. Logan Cooper, 60 days overdue on your mortgage, facing foreclosure in 2 weeks." Mia stepped into the room, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Daddy, who is she?" "Mia, go back to your room for a minute, okay?" "But now, sweetheart." Mia's face fell, but she obeyed, disappearing down the hallway. Logan turned back to Claire, anger rising in his chest. "So you snooped through my mail, looked me up while I was asleep? What the hell is this?" "This," Claire said calmly, "is me offering you a deal." Logan's jaw tightened. "I don't need your deals. You need something." Her gaze flicked to the foreclosure notice on the table. "You're drowning, Logan. I can see it. You work 2 jobs, barely make ends meet, and you're about to lose this house, your daughter's home. That's none of your business. It became my business the moment you pulled me out of that car." Logan stood, fists clenched. "I didn't save you for a reward. I did it because it was the right thing to do." "I know." Claire stood too, meeting his gaze without flinching. "That's exactly why I'm making you this offer." "What offer?" "Work for me. Watson Financial is expanding. I need someone I can trust, someone with integrity, someone who doesn't hesitate to do the right thing, even when it costs them." Logan laughed bitterly. "You don't even know me." "I know enough." Claire stepped closer, her voice dropping. "You risked your life for a stranger. You brought me into your home, gave me your bed, your shirt. You didn't ask for anything in return. That tells me everything I need to know. I'm not some charity case." "Good, because I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a job, chief of security for Watson Financial. Salary, benefits, company car. Enough to save this house and give your daughter the life she deserves." Logan stared at her, his mind racing. It sounded too good to be true. And things that sounded too good to be true usually were. "Why me?" he asked. "You could hire anyone." "Because I don't trust anyone." Claire's expression hardened. "My last head of security embezzled $2 million and disappeared. I need someone who can't be bought. Someone loyal." "And you think that's me?" "I know it is." Logan looked away, his chest tight. He thought of Mia, of the foreclosure notice, of the stack of unpaid bills and the empty refrigerator, and the nights he lay awake wondering how he was going to make it through another month. "What's the catch?" he asked quietly. "No catch, just one condition." "Which is?" Claire smiled. "You start today." 4 years ago, Logan Cooper had it all. He was 32, living in Seattle, working as a project manager for a top engineering firm called Davidson Technologies. His salary was comfortable, not rich, but enough. He wore a suit to work, led teams, presented to clients. He was respected, successful, on track for a promotion. His wife Emily was a pediatric nurse at Seattle Children's Hospital, beautiful, kind, with a laugh that could light up a room and a heart bigger than the ocean. She worked the day shift, came home with stories about brave kids fighting cancer or recovering from surgery. She cried when she lost patients and celebrated like it was her own victory when they went home healthy. They'd just bought their first house, a cozy 2-story in Ballard with a small yard and a good school district. Mia had been 3 years old, bright-eyed and full of energy, already asking a million questions about everything. Why is the sky blue? Where do stars go during the day? Why can't dogs talk? Logan and Emily would lie in bed at night, exhausted but happy, talking about the future. Maybe another baby. Maybe a bigger house someday. Maybe a trip to Disneyland when Mia was older. Life was perfect. Not movie perfect, real perfect. The kind of perfect that comes from ordinary moments. Sunday morning pancakes, bedtime stories, holding hands while watching TV. Logan thought it would last forever. Then, on a Tuesday morning in October, Emily dropped Mia off at daycare like she did every morning. She kissed Mia's forehead, told her to be good, and drove toward the hospital for her 7 a.m. shift. She never made it. A drunk driver, a 24-year-old kid coming home from an all-night party, ran a red light at the intersection of Market Street and 15th Avenue. He T-boned Emily's sedan at 60 miles per hour. Her car spun twice, crumpled like paper, and slammed into a telephone pole. She died on impact. The drunk driver walked away with a broken arm. Logan got the call at 7:42 a.m. He was in a meeting, presenting a project timeline to a client. His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. Finally, he excused himself and stepped into the hallway. "Mr. Cooper?" The voice on the other end was gentle, careful. "This is Officer Martinez with Seattle PD. There's been an accident." Logan's world ended that day. He didn't remember driving to the hospital, didn't remember identifying Emily's body, didn't remember calling his brother or Emily's parents or anyone. It was all a blur of white walls and fluorescent lights, and the smell of disinfectant and the sound of his own screaming. Emily was gone. Just gone. And Logan was alone with a 3-year-old daughter who kept asking when Mommy was coming home. The funeral was a nightmare. Hundreds of people, Emily's co-workers, nursing school friends, neighbors, family. Everyone crying, everyone saying they were so sorry, everyone looking at Logan like he might shatter at any moment. And maybe he did. He couldn't work, couldn't sleep, couldn't function. The grief was a black hole, swallowing everything, his appetite, his energy, his will to live. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. in a panic, reaching for Emily, finding only empty sheets. Mia would climb into bed with him, crying, asking for Mommy, and Logan would hold her and lie. "Mommy's in heaven, sweetheart. She's watching over us." But he didn't believe it. He didn't believe in anything anymore. He took a leave of absence from work. Then another. His boss was understanding at first, but eventually the calls stopped coming. 6 months after Emily's death, Logan received a termination letter in the mail. His position had been filled. The mortgage payments piled up. First 1 month late, then 2, then 3. The bank sent letters. Logan threw them away unopened. He stopped showering, stopped shaving, stopped caring. Emily's parents tried to help. They offered to take Mia just for a little while, just until Logan got back on his feet. But Logan refused. Mia was all he had left of Emily. If he lost her too, there'd be nothing left. Finally, 10 months after the accident, the foreclosure notice came. Logan had 30 days to vacate the house. He packed what little they had left, clothes, Mia's toys, a few photos, and moved to Portland, away from Seattle, away from the memories, away from the house where Emily would never come home. He rented the small house on the east side for $800 a month. It was all he could afford. He took whatever jobs he could find: security guard at a warehouse, handyman for a property management company, night shifts stocking shelves at a grocery store. Anything that would let him pick up Mia from daycare, anything that paid in cash, anything that didn't ask too many questions. Mrs. Kowalski, the elderly neighbor, became Logan's lifeline. She'd watch Mia when Logan worked nights, refused to take more than $50 a week, and never judged him for the mess his life had become. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Slowly, over the next 3 years, Logan clawed his way back to something resembling normal. He got the night security job at the warehouse, steady hours, steady pay. He started sleeping again, started eating again, started being a father again instead of just surviving. Mia grew. She started school, made friends, learned to read. She still asked about Emily sometimes, but the questions came less frequently. The grief was still there, but it had dulled to a manageable ache instead of a constant agony. Logan thought this was it. This was his life now. Working nights, raising Mia, barely scraping by. No big dreams, no second chances, just survival. Then, on a stormy night in November, he pulled a woman from a burning car, and everything changed. Now, standing in that same small house, looking at Claire Watson in his kitchen wearing his shirt, Logan saw something he hadn't seen in 4 years. A future, a possibility, a chance. "Okay," he said finally. "I'll take the job." Claire's smile widened. "Good. Be at my office tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. sharp." She pulled a business card from her blazer pocket. Somehow she'd changed back into her clothes while he was asleep, and handed it to him. "Wait," Logan said. "How did you get your clothes back? They were soaked and torn." Claire's smile turned mischievous. "I called my driver. He brought a change of clothes an hour ago." "Your driver's been here. He's been waiting outside since 6 this morning." Logan blinked, processing. "You could have left hours ago." "I could have." Claire stepped toward the door, then paused, glancing back at him. Her expression shifted, the mischief fading into something softer, more vulnerable. "But I wanted to see the man who saved my life, face to face, in the daylight." She reached for the doorknob, then stopped, turning back fully. Her green eyes locked onto his, and Logan saw something raw there. Gratitude, yes, but also curiosity, maybe even respect. "Thank you, Logan," she said quietly, "for everything. You didn't have to help me. You could have just called 911 and kept driving. But you didn't. You put yourself at risk for a complete stranger. That says something about who you are." Logan's throat tightened. Anyone would have done the same. "No." Claire shook her head. "They wouldn't have. Most people would have driven past, convinced themselves someone else would help. But you didn't hesitate, and that matters." Before he could respond, she was gone, the door clicking shut behind her. Logan stood in the empty living room, staring at the business card in his hand. Claire Watson, CEO, Watson Financial Group. Direct line 503-555-0147. The cardstock was thick, expensive, embossed lettering, the kind of business card that cost more than Logan's weekly grocery budget. Mia peeked around the corner again, her blonde braid swinging. "Daddy? Was that lady a princess?" Logan laughed, despite himself. "No, sweetheart. Just someone I helped. She was pretty." "Yeah," Logan said quietly. "She was." "Are you going to see her again?" Logan looked down at the business card, turning it over in his hands. "Maybe." "Good. I liked her." Mia skipped back to her room, humming to herself. Logan stood there for a long moment, staring at the card. Part of him wanted to throw it away, to pretend last night never happened, to keep his head down and keep surviving, one day at a time. But another part of him, the part that used to dream, that used to hope, that used to believe in second chances, whispered that this was something different, something real. That night, after tucking Mia into bed with an extra long story about a brave knight and a clever dragon, Logan sat at the kitchen table. The foreclosure notice lay spread out in front of him, red letters screaming "Final Notice" across the top. He had 2 weeks, 14 days to come up with $4,800 or lose the house. He'd tried everything, called the bank a dozen times, begged for an extension, offered to set up a payment plan. But Watson Financial Group's mortgage division was cold, bureaucratic, unyielding. Pay or leave. Those were the options. Logan had $320 in his checking account. His next paycheck from the warehouse was 5 days away, $100 after taxes. Even if he worked double shifts every day until the deadline, he'd still come up short. He was going to lose the house, Mia's home, the only place that felt stable in her chaotic little life, unless he took Claire's offer. Logan picked up her business card, staring at the phone number. It was 9:47 p.m. Too late to call, but not too late to think. What did she really want? Claire Watson, CEO of a billion-dollar company, didn't just hand out six-figure jobs to random people who helped her. There had to be a catch. There always was. Maybe she needed a scapegoat. Maybe the job was impossible. Maybe she'd fire him in 3 months and he'd be right back where he started, except now with false hope to haunt him. Or maybe, just maybe, she was telling the truth. Maybe she really did need someone loyal, someone she could trust. Logan thought about the way she'd looked at him that morning, not with pity, not with superiority, but with something like recognition, like she saw someone who'd been through hell and was still standing. Someone like her. He set the business card on the table next to the foreclosure notice. 2 paths, 2 futures. One led to loss, uncertainty, and more struggle. The other led to... what? Hope? Danger? Both? Logan didn't know, but he knew he had to choose, for Mia, for himself, for the chance to be more than just surviving. He picked up his phone and typed out a text to the number on the card. "This is Logan Cooper. I'll be there tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. He hit send before he could second-guess himself. 3 minutes later, his phone buzzed. "I'm glad. Get some sleep, Logan. Tomorrow's a new beginning. CW." Logan stared at the message, his heart pounding. A new beginning. God, he hoped she was right. The next morning, Logan dropped Mia off at school and drove downtown to Watson Financial's headquarters, a sleek glass tower in the heart of Portland's business district. He felt out of place in his one good suit, a hand-me-down from his brother that didn't quite fit. The receptionist directed him to the top floor, Claire's office. The elevator ride felt like an eternity. When the doors opened, he stepped into a sprawling executive suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Claire sat behind a massive mahogany desk, typing on a laptop, her auburn hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. She looked up and smiled. "Right on time. I don't like being late." "Good." She stood, moving around the desk. "Let me show you around." Over the next hour, Claire walked him through the company. Watson Financial was massive, hundreds of employees, offices in 6 states, billions in assets. The security team consisted of 12 people, all reporting directly to Logan. His office was on the same floor as Claire's, with a view of the river. "This is too much," Logan said, staring at the leather chair and polished desk. "I'm not qualified for this." "You're more qualified than you think." Claire leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You spent 10 years in project management, coordinating teams and solving problems under pressure. You've worked security for the past 3 years. You're disciplined, resourceful, and you don't panic in a crisis. That's exactly what I need. And if I screw up?" "You won't." Her confidence was unsettling. Logan looked at her, trying to read the expression in her green eyes. "Why are you really doing this?" Claire was silent for a long moment. Then she stepped into the office, closing the door behind her. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything." Logan frowned. "You're a CEO. You run a billion-dollar company." "I wasn't always." She sat down in one of the chairs across from his desk, her posture stiff, guarded. 10 years ago, I was a nobody. A junior analyst with student debt and a crappy apartment. My father owned this company. He was ruthless, brilliant, and completely controlling. I wanted nothing to do with him. What changed? He died. Claire's voice was flat, emotionless. Heart attack, sudden. He left the company to me in his will. I was 26 years old, drowning in responsibility I didn't ask for. Everyone expected me to fail, to sell the company and walk away. But you didn't. No, I fought. I learned. I proved them all wrong. She met his gaze, something fierce flickering in her eyes. I know what it's like to be underestimated, Logan, to feel like you're drowning and no one's throwing you a line. So when I see someone like you, someone who's fighting to keep their head above water, I throw the line. Logan's throat tightened. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay. Say you'll do the job. I will. Claire stood, extending her hand. Logan shook it, her grip firm and warm. Welcome to Watson Financial, Logan Cooper. The first 2 months were a whirlwind. Logan threw himself into the job, learning the ins and outs of corporate security, managing the team of 12 security personnel, coordinating with law enforcement on threat assessments. The work was challenging but rewarding. He reviewed security protocols, upgraded surveillance systems, implemented new badge access controls. His team respected him. He treated them fairly, listened to their concerns and led by example. The pay was more than he'd ever made. His first paycheck was $6,200 after taxes. Logan stared at the direct deposit notification on his phone for a full minute, convinced there'd been a mistake. But it was real. He paid off 2 months of overdue mortgage immediately. Then he went to the grocery store and filled a cart without checking prices. He bought fresh fruit, real cheese, name-brand cereal, chicken breasts instead of ground beef. Mia's eyes went wide when she saw the bags. "Did we win the lottery, Daddy?" Logan laughed, tears in his eyes. "Something like that, sweetheart." He enrolled Mia in a better after-school program, one with art classes and science projects instead of just a TV in a church basement. He bought her new shoes that actually fit. He fixed the car's check engine light that had been on for 6 months. For the first time in 4 years, Logan could breathe. But the more time he spent at Watson Financial, the more he realized something was wrong. It started small. He'd request a file from the archives, and it would be missing. He'd review financial reports, and numbers wouldn't add up. He'd ask employees questions about procedures, and they'd avoid eye contact, give vague answers, change the subject. Logan's instincts, honed from years of struggling to survive, screamed that something was off. At first he thought maybe it was normal. Maybe all big companies had these little inefficiencies. But then he noticed patterns. Certain transactions always seemed to have documentation gaps. Certain vendors had contracts that didn't make sense. And whenever Logan asked Richard Brennan, the CFO, about them, Richard would smile and say, "That's above your pay grade, Logan. Focus on security." But Logan couldn't let it go. He started digging deeper, quietly, during lunch breaks and after hours. He accessed old financial reports, compared them to current ones, traced payments through the system. Late one night, alone in his office, Logan accessed the company's internal servers. What he found made his blood run cold. Millions of dollars were being siphoned out of Watson Financial through a series of shell companies. The transactions were carefully hidden, buried under layers of bureaucracy and fake invoices. But they were there. Someone was embezzling from the company. Again. Logan's first thought was to go straight to Claire, but then he saw the signature on the approval forms. Claire Watson, CEO. His stomach dropped. No, it didn't make sense. Claire had hired him to find this kind of thing. She'd told him about the last head of security who stole from her. Why would she do it herself? Unless she wanted a scapegoat. Logan's hands trembled as he printed the documents. He didn't want to believe it, but the evidence was right there in black and white. The next morning he confronted Claire in her office. "I found something," Logan said, closing the door behind him. Claire looked up from her laptop, her expression calm. "Found what?" He dropped the stack of papers on her desk. Embezzlement, millions of dollars, routed through shell companies over the past 18 months. Claire's face didn't change. She picked up the papers, flipping through them slowly. Then she set them down and looked at him. And your signature is on the approval forms. Yes, it is. Logan's chest tightened. So it's true. You're stealing from your own company. Claire stood, moving to the window, her back to him. Sit down, Logan. I don't want to sit down. I want the truth. Then sit, and I'll tell you. Logan hesitated, then sank into the chair across from her desk. His heart pounded. Claire turned to face him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. 6 months ago, I discovered that my CFO, Richard Brennan, was embezzling from Watson Financial. He'd been doing it for years. Millions of dollars, hidden in plain sight. Then why didn't you fire him? Report him to the police? Because he had leverage. Claire's jaw tightened. Richard knew things about my father, things that could destroy this company's reputation. If I exposed him, he'd expose us. It would tank our stock, ruin investor confidence, and put 800 employees out of work. So you let him keep stealing? No. Claire's gaze hardened. I set a trap. I created the shell companies myself, made it look like I was embezzling. I needed someone I could trust, someone outside the inner circle, to find the evidence and help me build a case. Someone Richard would never suspect. Logan stared at her, his mind racing. You used me. I gave you a job, a future, and yes, I needed your help. But I didn't lie to you, Logan. I told you I needed someone loyal, someone who couldn't be bought. And you are. You should have told me. I couldn't. Not until I knew for sure you'd find it. Richard is careful. He's watching everyone. If he suspected I was onto him, he'd disappear with the money and we'd never see him again. Logan stood, pacing. This is insane. I know. Claire stepped toward him, her voice dropping. But I need you, Logan. I can't do this alone. Richard is powerful. He has allies on the board. If I move against him without ironclad evidence, he'll bury me. And if I help you? We take him down, together, and you become the hero who saved Watson Financial from collapse. Logan looked at her, his pulse racing. Every instinct told him to walk away, to take Mia and run. But then he thought of the foreclosure notice, the stack of bills, the nights he'd lain awake wondering how he was going to survive. Claire was offering him more than a job. She was offering him a chance to fight back, to be someone who mattered. What do you need me to do? Logan asked quietly. Claire's smile was fierce. Help me catch him. Over the next 3 weeks, Logan and Claire worked in secret. They traced every transaction, built a timeline, gathered evidence. Richard Brennan was meticulous, but he wasn't perfect. There were gaps, mistakes, and Logan found them all. The deeper they dug, the more Logan learned about Claire. She was brilliant, ruthless when she needed to be, but also surprisingly kind. She asked about Mia, remembered her favorite color, even sent a gift, a stuffed unicorn, after Logan mentioned Mia loved them. They worked late into the night, ordering takeout, talking about everything and nothing. Claire told him about growing up under her father's shadow. Logan told her about Emily, about the accident, about the grief that still hadn't let go. And slowly, something shifted between them. One night, as they pored over spreadsheets in Claire's office, Logan glanced up and found her watching him. "What?" he asked. "Nothing." She looked away, a faint blush creeping into her cheeks. "Just thank you for trusting me." "I'm not sure I do yet." Claire laughed softly. Fair enough. But the truth was, Logan did trust her, more than he'd trusted anyone since Emily died, and that terrified him. Finally, they had everything they needed. irrefutable proof that Richard Brennan had embezzled over $15 million from Watson Financial. Claire called an emergency board meeting, and Logan presented the evidence. Richard tried to bluff, to deflect, but the numbers didn't lie. By the end of the meeting, he was escorted out by police, facing multiple felony charges. Claire had won. That night, Logan found her alone in her office, staring out at the city lights. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, but didn't turn. "I keep thinking about my father, about how disappointed he'd be. He built this company from nothing, and I almost lost it." "You didn't lose it. You saved it. We saved it." Claire finally looked at him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I couldn't have done this without you, Logan." "Sure you could have." "No." She stepped toward him, closing the distance. "I needed someone I could trust, someone who saw me, not just the CEO. You gave me that." Logan's breath caught. They were standing close now, too close. He could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes, the way her lips parted slightly as she looked up at him. "Claire." "I know," she whispered. "I know it's complicated. I'm your boss. You're still grieving. This is probably a terrible idea." "Yeah, it is. But I can't stop thinking about you." Logan's heart pounded. He should step back, walk away. This was too much, too fast, but he didn't move. "I can't either," he admitted. Claire reached up, her hand trembling as she touched his cheek. "Then don't." He kissed her. Soft at first, tentative, like he was afraid she'd disappear. But then Claire's arms wrapped around his neck, pulling him closer, and the kiss deepened, urgent and desperate and full of everything they'd been holding back. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Logan rested his forehead against hers. "This is crazy," he said. "I know. I have a daughter, baggage. I'm a mess. I don't care." "Claire, I don't care, Logan." She looked at him fiercely. "I've spent 10 years building this company, proving myself, being alone, and then you walked into my life and saved me. Not just from the car, from drowning in my own loneliness. I'm not letting that go." Logan's throat tightened. "I don't know if I'm ready." "Then we'll figure it out together." He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise. Over the next 6 months, Logan and Claire's relationship grew. It wasn't easy. Logan struggled with guilt. Guilt over moving on from Emily. Guilt over letting someone new into Mia's life. But Claire was patient. She didn't push. She let him set the pace. And slowly, Mia warmed to her. Claire came to Mia's school plays, brought her books, taught her how to bake cookies. Mia started calling her Miss Claire, and eventually, just Claire. One evening, as Logan tucked Mia into bed, she looked up at him with those bright blue eyes and said, "Daddy, do you love Claire?" Logan's breath caught. "What makes you ask that?" "Because you smile when she's around, like you used to smile at Mommy." Tears pricked Logan's eyes. "Yeah, sweetheart, I think I do." Mia grinned. "Good. I like her." "Me too." That night Logan told Claire he loved her. She cried and kissed him and whispered, "I love you too." A year after they met, Logan proposed. Not with a fancy ring or an elaborate plan, just the two of them, sitting on the couch in his small house, the house he'd almost lost, with Mia asleep in the next room. "Marry me," Logan said. Claire laughed through her tears. "Yes." They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at a vineyard outside Portland. Mia was the flower girl, her blonde curls bouncing as she scattered petals down the aisle. Claire's employees came, along with Logan's brother and a few close friends. It was simple, intimate, perfect. As Logan stood at the altar, watching Claire walk toward him in a white dress that made her look like sunlight, He thought about the night he'd pulled her from that burning car, the night that changed everything. He'd saved her life, but she'd saved his too. The investigation into Richard Brennan took longer than Logan expected. 3 weeks stretched into 6, then 2 months. Every day brought new discoveries. Shell companies in the Cayman Islands, falsified invoices, bribes paid to board members. The deeper they dug, the more elaborate Richard's scheme became. Logan spent his days managing the security team and his nights with Claire, combing through financial records until his eyes burned. The work was tedious, exhausting, and often felt hopeless. For every transaction they traced, 3 more appeared. Richard had spent years building this web of deception, and untangling it felt like trying to empty an ocean with a teaspoon. But Logan didn't quit. He couldn't. Not when so much was riding on this. Mia noticed the change in him. She'd ask why he came home so late, why he looked so tired, why he fell asleep on the couch instead of reading her bedtime stories. Logan hated lying to her, but he couldn't tell a 7-year-old about corporate fraud and embezzlement. "I'm just helping Miss Claire with an important project," he'd say, tucking her into bed when he finally made it home. "Is she nice to you, Daddy?" "Very nice." Mia smiled, her blue eyes sleepy. "Good. You deserve nice people. Mommy would want you to have nice people." Logan's throat tightened. "You think so?" "I know so. Mommy told me once that Daddy has the biggest heart in the world. She said people with big hearts deserve to be happy." Tears pricked Logan's eyes. "When did she tell you that?" "I don't remember. I was little, but I remember her smile when she said it, like it made her happy to think about you being happy." Logan pulled Mia close, kissing the top of her blonde head. "I love you, sweetheart, more than anything in the world. I love you too, Daddy, and I think Miss Claire loves you too. I see how she looks at you." Logan's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Like you're the best thing she's ever seen. Like Mommy used to look at you." Mia yawned, snuggling deeper into her blankets. "It's okay if you love her back. I won't be mad." Logan's heart ached. His daughter had grown up too fast, had seen too much loss, had learned empathy and wisdom beyond her years. She deserved stability, security, a childhood free from worry. And Claire was offering that, but only if they could take down Richard first. "Get some sleep, sweetheart," Logan whispered, turning off the light. "Night, Daddy." As Logan closed the door, he leaned against the hallway wall and let the tears fall. Tears of grief for Emily, tears of gratitude for Mia, tears of hope for Claire, all mixed together, overwhelming and cathartic. He dried his eyes and went back to work. One evening, as Logan sat in Claire's office reviewing yet another spreadsheet, she pushed back from her desk and sighed. "I need a break," she said, rubbing her temples. "Yeah, me too." "Let's get out of here, go somewhere, clear our heads." Logan glanced at the clock. 8 p.m. "Now?" "Why not?" Claire stood, grabbing her coat. "There's a food cart pod near the waterfront. Best Thai food in Portland. My treat." 20 minutes later, they sat on a bench overlooking the Willamette River, sharing pad thai and spring rolls. The city lights reflected off the dark water, and a cool breeze carried the scent of rain. "This is nice," Logan said, his mouth full of noodles. Claire laughed. "Glamorous, right? CEO of a billion-dollar company eating street food on a park bench. Better than another night staring at spreadsheets." "Agreed." She leaned back, closing her eyes. "Sometimes I miss this. Just being normal, not having to be the boss all the time." "You're good at it, though, being the boss." "Am I?" Claire opened her eyes, looking at him. "Half the board thinks I'm in over my head. The other half thinks I'm a tyrant. What do you think?" She was quiet for a long moment. I think I'm scared. All the time. That I'll make the wrong decision. That I'll fail. That I'll prove everyone right who said I couldn't do this. Logan set down his food, turning to face her. You're not going to fail. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He reached for her hand, lacing their fingers together. Because you don't give up. You fight. That's what makes you a good CEO, not being fearless, being scared and doing it anyway. Claire's eyes glistened. How do you always know what to say? I don't. I'm just telling you what I see. She leaned in, kissing him softly. When she pulled back, she whispered, I'm really glad you pulled me out of that car, Logan Cooper. Me too. They stayed there until the food grew cold, talking about everything and nothing. Claire told him about her mother, who died when Claire was 12, about how her father never recovered, throwing himself into work until there was nothing left but the company. Logan told her about Emily's laugh, about the way she used to dance in the kitchen when she thought no one was watching, about how guilty he felt for moving on. Emily would want you to be happy, Claire said quietly. I know, but knowing doesn't make it easier. No, it doesn't. Claire squeezed his hand. But you're allowed to love again, Logan. It doesn't erase what you had. It just means you're still alive. Logan's throat tightened. Thank you. For what? For understanding. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the river flow past, the city humming around them. For the first time in years, Logan felt at peace. But peace didn't last. The next morning, Logan arrived at the office to find his desk ransacked. Files scattered, drawers yanked open, his computer screen smashed. What the hell, he muttered, stepping into the chaos. Claire appeared in the doorway, her face pale. Richard knows. Logan's blood ran cold. How? I don't know, but someone tipped him off. He came in early this morning before anyone else arrived. Security footage shows him in your office for 20 minutes. Did he take anything? The hard drive from your computer and the backup files you'd printed. Logan swore under his breath. We have copies, right? On the secure server. He can't access it without my password. Claire's jaw tightened. But he knows we're on to him. He'll run. Then we move now. Today. Call the board meeting. Logan, we don't have everything yet. If we go after him now and he lawyers up, we might lose. We won't lose. Logan grabbed his phone, pulling up the photos he'd taken of every document, every transaction. I backed everything up, every single file. He didn't get it all. Claire stared at him, something like awe flickering in her green eyes. You backed it up? Of course I did. I've been screwed over before. I don't make the same mistake twice. A slow smile spread across Claire's face. Call the meeting. 3 hours later, the Watson Financial boardroom was packed. 12 board members sat around the long mahogany table, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Richard Brennan sat at the far end, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his silver hair combed back. He looked calm, confident, like a man who'd already won. Claire stood at the head of the table, Logan beside her. Thank you all for coming on such short notice, Claire began. I've called this emergency meeting because we have a serious situation. For the past 18 months, Watson Financial has been the target of systematic embezzlement. Murmurs rippled through the room. Richard's expression didn't change. Over $15 million has been siphoned from company accounts through a network of shell companies, Claire continued. The transactions were carefully hidden, but we've uncovered them all, and we know who's responsible. She nodded to Logan. He stepped forward, connecting his laptop to the projector. Financial records filled the screen. Transactions, wire transfers, falsified invoices. This is Richard Brennan's handiwork, Logan said, his voice steady. Every transaction was approved by him. Every shell company traces back to accounts he controls. Richard stood, his face flushing red. This is absurd. I've been CFO of this company for 15 years. I've done nothing but serve Watson Financial with integrity, then explain this. Logan pulled up a bank statement. An offshore account in the Cayman Islands, opened 3 years ago. $17 million deposited over the past 18 months. The account is registered to RB Holdings. Your initials, Richard. The room went silent. Richard's mask cracked. You have no idea what you're talking about. We have everything, Claire said coldly. Bank statements, wire transfer records, emails between you and your shell company managers. We even have the bribes you paid to board members to look the other way. 3 board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Richard's hands trembled. This is a setup. Claire's been trying to get rid of me for years. Enough. Claire's voice was ice. You're done, Richard. The police are waiting outside. You're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. Richard lunged toward the door, but 2 uniformed officers stepped inside, blocking his path. Richard Brennan, you're under arrest, one officer said, pulling out handcuffs. As they led him away, Richard turned back, his face twisted with rage. You'll regret this, Claire. I'll destroy you. I'll destroy this whole company. The door closed, cutting off his threats. The boardroom erupted in chaos, board members shouting, demanding explanations, some trying to distance themselves from Richard's crimes. Claire let them vent for a moment, then raised her hand. We'll conduct a full internal audit, she said calmly. Anyone found to have assisted Richard in any way will be terminated and prosecuted. Watson Financial will cooperate fully with law enforcement, and we will emerge from this stronger. One by one, the board members nodded. After the meeting ended and everyone filed out, Logan found Claire standing alone by the window, staring out at the city. You okay? He asked. She nodded, but didn't turn. I keep thinking about what my father would say, if he'd be proud or disappointed. He'd be proud. Logan stepped beside her. You saved the company. You did what was right. We did what was right. Claire turned to him, her eyes bright with unshed tears. I couldn't have done this without you, Logan. Yes, you could have. No. She reached up, cupping his face. You gave me courage. You believed in me when no one else did. Logan's breath caught. They were standing close now, too close. He could feel the heat radiating off her, could see the vulnerability in her eyes. Claire. She kissed him, fierce and desperate, pouring everything she couldn't say into that one moment. Logan kissed her back, his hands sliding into her hair, pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Logan rested his forehead against hers. This is a bad idea, he whispered. I don't care. You're my boss. Then quit. Claire smiled through her tears. Or fire me. I don't care, Logan. I just know I can't lose you. Logan's heart pounded. He thought about Emily, about the guilt, about Mia. But then he looked at Claire, really looked at her, and saw someone who'd been just as broken as him, someone who'd fought to rebuild, someone who saw him, not as a project or a charity case, but as an equal. I'm not going anywhere, he said quietly. Claire exhaled, relief flooding her face. Good. They stood there, holding each other as the sun set over Portland. But their problems weren't over. The fallout from Richard's arrest was immediate and brutal. News outlets ran stories about Watson Financial's embezzlement scandal. Stock prices plummeted. Investors threatened to pull out. And several board members resigned, citing loss of confidence in Claire's leadership. Claire worked 18-hour days, doing damage control, reassuring clients, rebuilding trust. Logan watched her burn herself out, saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the way she barely ate or slept. You need to rest, he told her one night as she sat at her desk, staring at yet another financial report. "I can't. If I stop, everything falls apart." "Claire, I said I can't," she snapped, then immediately looked stricken. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean—" "It's okay." Logan knelt beside her chair, taking her hands. They were ice cold. "You're running on empty. You need to take care of yourself." "I don't know how." Claire's voice broke. "This company is everything. If I lose it, I lose everything." "You won't lose it. And even if you did, you'd still have me and Mia and a life outside these walls." Tears spilled down Claire's cheeks. "I don't know how to have a life outside these walls." Logan pulled her into his arms, holding her as she cried. "Then I'll teach you." Over the next month, Logan made it his mission to help Claire find balance. He started small, making her leave the office by 7 p.m., insisting she eat real meals instead of energy bars, taking her on walks through the park near the waterfront. Slowly, Claire began to relax, to smile more, to laugh, and Mia noticed. One Saturday afternoon, Logan brought Mia to Claire's house, a modern condo overlooking the city. Claire had invited them for lunch, and Mia was bouncing with excitement. "Is this where Miss Claire lives?" Mia asked, eyes wide as they stepped into the sleek, minimalist space. "Yep." "It's so fancy." Claire appeared from the kitchen, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Hi, Mia." "Hi, Miss Claire." Mia ran to her, throwing her arms around Claire's waist. Claire laughed, hugging her back. "I'm so glad you're here. I need your help making cookies." Mia's eyes lit up. "Really? Really? Come on." Logan watched as Claire and Mia disappeared into the kitchen, their laughter echoing through the condo. His chest tightened with emotion. Seeing them together felt right, natural, like family. An hour later, the three of them sat on the balcony, eating warm chocolate chip cookies and watching the city below. Mia chattered about school, about her best friend Emma, about how she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up. Claire listened intently, asking questions, genuinely interested. Logan's heart swelled. After Mia went inside to watch TV, Claire turned to Logan, her expression soft. "She's amazing," Claire said. "She is. You did that. You raised her to be kind and curious and brave." Logan's throat tightened. "I did my best. Your best is pretty incredible." Claire reached for his hand, lacing their fingers together. "I know this is complicated. Us. But I want you to know, I'm all in. If you'll have me." Logan looked at her, really looked at her. At the woman who'd fought so hard to save her company, who'd trusted him when she had no reason to, who loved his daughter like she was her own. "I'm all in too," he said quietly. Claire smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Yeah? Yeah." She kissed him, soft and sweet, and Logan felt something inside him heal. A piece of his heart that had been broken for so long finally clicking back into place. 6 months later, Logan proposed. He didn't plan it. Didn't buy a fancy ring or orchestrate an elaborate surprise. It just happened. They were at his house, their house really, since Claire spent most nights there, sitting on the couch after Mia had gone to bed. Claire was curled against him, half asleep, her head on his shoulder. "Marry me," Logan said. Claire's eyes snapped open. "What?" "Marry me." He turned to face her, his heart pounding. "I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I don't want to wait. I don't want to waste time being scared. I love you, Claire. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Claire stared at him, tears streaming down her face. "You're serious. Dead serious. You don't have a ring. I'll get one tomorrow. Or you can pick it out. I don't care. I just need to know. Will you marry me?" Claire laughed through her tears. "Yes, yes, Logan Cooper, I will marry you." Logan kissed her, and for the first time in 4 years, he felt whole. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at a vineyard outside Portland. The guest list was tiny: Logan's brother, Claire's assistant, Mrs. Kowalski, and a few close friends. Mia was the flower girl, her blonde curls bouncing as she skipped down the aisle, scattering rose petals with a huge smile. When Claire appeared at the end of the aisle, Logan's breath caught. She wore a simple white dress, her auburn hair loose and flowing, her green eyes bright with tears. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. As she reached him, she whispered, "Hi." "Hi," Logan whispered back. The ceremony was short. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Logan promised to love Claire fiercely, to support her dreams, to be her partner in all things. Claire promised to love Logan and Mia, to build a life with them, to never stop fighting for their family. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Logan pulled Claire close and kissed her like it was the first time, like it was the last time, like it was everything. The small crowd cheered. Mia ran up, throwing her arms around both of them. "We're a family now," Mia shouted. Claire laughed, scooping Mia into her arms. "We've always been a family, sweetheart." Logan wrapped his arms around both of them, his heart so full it ached. He'd lost everything once: his wife, his home, his future. But he'd found something better, something real. He'd found love, he'd found family, and he'd found home. 2 years later, Logan stood in the kitchen of their new house, a spacious 4-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood with a big yard for Mia. It was a Saturday morning, and sunlight streamed through the windows. Mia's laughter echoed from the living room, where she played with their dog, a golden retriever named Biscuit. Claire came up behind him, wrapping her arms around his waist, resting her head against his back. She was 6 months pregnant, her belly round and full, pressing against him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Just how far we've come." "We've come pretty far." She kissed his shoulder. "You nervous about the baby?" "Terrified." Claire laughed. "Me too." Logan turned in her arms, pulling her close, carefully, mindfully of her belly. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For believing I was worth saving." Claire smiled, her green eyes bright. "You were always worth saving, Logan Cooper. Always." He kissed her, slow and sweet, feeling the warmth of her love wrap around him like a blanket. In the next room, Mia laughed and Biscuit barked. Outside, the sun climbed higher, painting the sky in shades of gold and blue. Logan had lost everything once, but he'd found something better. He'd found Claire, he'd found family, he'd found purpose, he'd found home. And this time, he wasn't letting go. 3 months later, their son was born. They named him Ethan, after Emily's father. Claire held Logan's hand through the entire labor, and when the doctor placed their tiny, squalling baby boy in Logan's arms, he cried. Mia burst into the hospital room minutes later, her eyes wide with wonder. "Is that my brother?" "Yeah, sweetheart. This is Ethan." Mia peered at the baby, then looked up at Claire. "He's so small." Claire laughed, exhausted but radiant. "He'll grow." "Can I hold him?" Logan carefully placed Ethan in Mia's arms, supporting his head. Mia stared down at her baby brother with such fierce love that Logan's chest ached. "I'll protect him," Mia said solemnly. "Forever." "I know you will," Logan whispered. That night, after Mia had been picked up by Mrs. Kowalski and the hospital room had finally quieted, Logan sat beside Claire's bed, holding her hand while she slept. Ethan was curled in the bassinet beside them, tiny and perfect. Logan thought about the night he'd pulled Claire from that burning car, the night that had changed everything. He thought about the fear, the uncertainty, the grief he'd carried for so long, and he thought about how one act of kindness, one moment of courage had brought him here, to this room, to this family, to this life. He leaned down, kissing Claire's forehead. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything." She stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "You say that a lot." "Because I mean it." Claire smiled sleepily. "I love you, Logan Cooper. I love you too." She drifted back to sleep, her hand still holding his. Logan sat there, watching his wife and son, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Complete and utter peace. The years that followed were full of chaos and joy in equal measure. Ethan grew from a tiny newborn into a rambunctious toddler who climbed everything and laughed at his own jokes. Mia blossomed into a confident, kind-hearted 12-year-old who doted on her baby brother. Watson Financial stabilized. Claire's reputation recovered, stronger than ever. She became known not just as the CEO who'd survived a massive embezzlement scandal, but as the leader who'd fought back and won. Logan thrived as chief of security. He built a team he trusted, implemented new protocols, and became Claire's right hand in all things. The staff respected him. The board respected him. And more importantly, he respected himself. One evening, 5 years after their wedding, Logan and Claire sat on the porch of their house, watching Mia and Ethan play in the yard. Biscuit chased after them, barking happily. "Remember when you asked me what I was thinking about?" Logan said. Claire smiled. "You're always thinking about how far we've come, because it's true. Look at us. Look at them." He nodded toward the kids. 5 years ago, I was about to lose everything. Now I have everything." Claire rested her head on his shoulder. "We did that, together." "Yeah, we did." They sat in comfortable silence, the evening air cool and sweet, the sound of their children's laughter filling the space around them. "Do you still think about her?" Claire asked quietly. "Emily?" Logan nodded. "Sometimes, but it doesn't hurt the way it used to. Now it's just gratitude for the time we had, for Mia, for the love that brought me here." "You think she'd be happy for us?" "I know she would." Logan squeezed Claire's hand. "Emily loved love. She'd want me to be happy. She'd want Mia to have a family, and she'd like you." Claire's eyes glistened. "Yeah?" "Yeah. You're both stubborn, brilliant, and way too good for me." Claire laughed, wiping her eyes. "Shut up." Logan pulled her close, kissing the top of her head. "I love you, Claire Cooper. I love you too." As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Logan looked at his family, his wife, his children, his home, and felt a gratitude so deep it took his breath away. He'd been broken once, shattered into pieces he thought could never be put back together. But Claire had found him in the wreckage. She'd seen something in him worth saving, and together they'd built something beautiful. A life, a family, a future. Logan had saved Claire that stormy night on Highway 26, but the truth was, she'd saved him too, and every day since, they'd been saving each other. That was love. Real, messy, imperfect, beautiful love. And Logan wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.